Ba-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But how's everybody doing today? Having a great day, I hope. Comment. Interact. Interact. Let's have fun. Let's have fun while we write. And we're there. And we're going. And we're doing, and we're moving, and we're doing our thing. Oh, so much fun. And here we are. Bum bum ba da 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 da. Star Wars is the thing to talk about, 'cause it's awesome. Oh, wait, no. I didn't mean to close that. Oh my gosh. Alright, hang on. Pages, where are you? Alright, pages. No, that's not right. Finder. Open up Finder to open up what I just closed. Declassified maximum security survival guide. Declassified maximum security survival guide. No, not the intro. I want the whole thing. There we are. Thank you so much. Okay, go away. Circle of hell. Thank you. Okay. Here we are, gentlemen and ladies. It's thinking. Come on. Come on. Come on. Stop loading. This might take just a minute, because it is a really big document. Okay. Come on now. Come on now. Stop doing what you're doing. Yeah, don't forget the ladies. Becca, how could I forget the ladies? I'm not going to forget the ladies. Never forget. This stupid thing is taking forever to load. I'm just going to move around the screen like this. There we go. That'll help it think faster, right? I think I'm gonna force quit. Let's close all of pages and then open up pages. You guys like the pink wall? It's a nice pink wall, isn't it? Nice pink wall. Okay, here we go. It is open. Butler, Benson, Belvedere, number 2, Skull Bully. We're not going to work on that right now, though. We're going to open up recents, and we're going to open up DMSSG, Declassified Maximum Security Survival Guide. And now it loads. Let's minimize that. Okay. Open recents DMSSG. Thank you. Oh, I see what it did. It put them into... Oh, that's different. So, this document this program that I'm using, Pages, just recently had an update. And I guess that's part of the update. I'm going to close that and make it just Declassified Maximum Security Survival Guide. But that's good to know. Alright, we'll do 200 so everybody can see. Everybody can see that, right? Nice and clear on your screen. Yeah? Yeah. Good. All right, let's go. However, I need to go down to... What are we working on? We are finishing up We're typing out the new chapter. Ooh, this is a good one. Yep, because, well, we should probably edit this chapter first. Okay, we're going to edit chapter 6, and then we're going to run into and start working on chapter 7. Forewarning, chapter 6 has some pretty graphic cursing and uses the R word several times. But what can you expect, right? These are detainees. They're not inmates, right? They're not inmates. Well, they're not convicts. Because they haven't been found guilty of anything. They're awaiting trial. So the whole idea of calling them anything but detainees is not super kosher. And yeah, I can use kosher because I'm a Jew. I can say Jew because I'm a Jew too. Here we go. 24. Chapter 6, Bad Celly. Let's start talking about bad cellies. A crazy, stupid, mean, or fat celly can make your time incarcerated a nightmare. Fat cellies are on the list because they stink up the cell and are often slobs. I can't stand living with a messy or dirty human being. When you're cellmates with someone in Max, there's no escaping them for 22 hours a day. At this point, it's actually 21 hours a day because they're laying us out for 3 hours a day. So there's a quick little fix. 21 hours a day. On the flip side, a good celly allows for good conversation, playing games, and making time go faster. Another person can also give you a feeling of camaraderie. Camaraderie. I don't want to spell it that way. I want to spell it that way. I'm going to leave it. And let you know that you're not alone. And let you know you're not alone. So, Dr. Nielsen was an amazing cellmate. He was intellectually stimulating. Conversation flowed and we talked for hours about everything. Our home life, work, religion, politics, it was all fair game. We challenged each other at chess, even though I typically won, and taught each other card games. He was also a great detainee because he bought commissary and was kind enough to split a bag of chips or the last section of a Kit Kat bar with me. I was grateful for any reprieve from the unsweetened food we consumed every day. But, like all good things, wonderful cellmates don't last. Nielsen was bailed out after 3 weeks of trying to find the tens of thousands of dollars for the bail bondsman. We fist bumped as he left. I wanted a hug. A week passed before I was given a new cellmate. My first thought when I met Buster was how badly the man needed a shower. He reeked of BO. "Hi. My name's Trevor," I said, extending my hand. He gave me a limp shake. "I'm Buster. I have severe autism and Asperger's. I can read at a 3rd grade level." What the fuck was he doing in my house? What the fuck was he doing in my house? As if I'd asked him to tell me his life story. He told me his life story. Much of it revolved around his cat. I was adopted by my mom's. People make fun of me for that. That's why I have brass knuckles to threaten them with. I like weapons. I've had a few jobs, but I get fired because I forget to go. Haha. But I get disability, so it's okay. I have a girlfriend I like a lot. We live together in my basement. I hope she remembers to take care of my cat. I love my cat more than anything. Does it sound like autism? I'm trying to convey Asperger's autism. I think I'm doing an okay job. He enjoyed talking about himself. So did I. But I discussed myself in a more conversational manner. He continued on. I'm going to leave on. I have letters from her, my girlfriend, not my cat. She thinks I deserve to be in here because sometimes I get angry and I like brass knuckles. A dangerous combination. Want to see? Everything he said was loud. I tried my best to reply. "You know, Buster, I'm not..." Whoosh. The letters were in my lap. Soon I understood that his girlfriend was also differently abled, and that she was jealous of all the attention Buster gave his feline companion. I began to wonder how violent things got between the two oddly abled, and wished I could observe them in their natural habitat. It took a while to shut him up. I tried playing a few games with him. Most card games were too complicated, and I don't want to play Go Fish. Chess was out of the question, and he wouldn't play checkers because we didn't have real checkers pieces. Having real pieces was extremely important to him. We ended up sitting on our bunks, reading. At least I read. Trevor? Yes, Buster? What does sympathy mean? The dictionary is on the desk. Well, I don't really like using the dictionary because it takes so long. Okay. That's stupid. I wished his voice wasn't so monotone. Trevor? What? Can you tell me what it means? No. Irritation was rising. Make that my irritation was rising. Why can't you? Because I don't want to, Buster. I'm reading my book. You have a dictionary you can use. But I don't like using the dictionary because it takes so long. He already said that. Tough. His voice inflection never changed. After 30 seconds of silence, he asked, Can't you tell me what it means? Buster, I'm reading. And you're not good at multitasking? My head flooded with possible answers. I decided to go with the one that had the best chance of ending the conversation. No. Oh. I sat back enjoying the silence. Was that it? It was over? I enjoyed my book in silence with a smile on my face. Bam! I bolted up and looked at the door. Buster had thrown his book against it. I yelled, What the hell? He looked up at me from his bunk in a calm and innocent manner, like he had no idea why I was shouting. Why'd you throw that? There are too many big words in it. That doesn't mean you have to throw it. I didn't hurt anybody. Clearly, arguing with Buster was a waste of time. I did my best to read. Buster got his letters out and read through those. Trevor? What? Do you think my mom still loves me? How would I know that? I asked what you thought, not what you knew. Okay, yeah, technically. I don't know. Probably. That's good. Another 3 minutes of silent reading before... Trevor? What? My tone was filled with irritation and a hint of anger. But come on, you guys would be angry too, right? Do you think the prosecutor will give me a good deal? From what you've told me, probably not. Oh, that's too bad. 2 minutes later. Trevor? What? Do you think they threw away my weapons? Probably. Oh. 4 minutes later. Trevor? What? Do you think my girlfriend is taking good care of my cat? You said she doesn't like your cat, so she probably drowned your cat in the bathtub. 5 seconds later. 5 seconds of silence before I added. 5 seconds of silence passed before I added. Your cat's dead. Another 10 seconds passed before Buster replied, Boy, I hope not. That'd make me really sad. Do you ever get sad, Trevor? You know what, Buster? I really just want to read in silence. Okay? Oh, his favorite word. I read in wondrous quiet for a solid 10 minutes. A dull, quick thump, thump, thump broke the silence with a steady rhythm. I froze in the wake of the thump, thump, thumping. He's not masturbating. I took a breath and slowly peered over the edge of the bunk. There it was, Buster's right fist thumping 100 miles an hour. He stopped, looked at me, and smiled with a monotone hi. Without a word, I went back to reading. Between his thumping and body odor, our timeout couldn't come fast enough. Make sure you take a shower. Buster nodded dumbly. I will. As the cell door opened, Buster headed to the shower I told him to use, the upstairs shower, while Jackson came over. You better not fight with your cellie. You can tell he's got that retard strength. I rolled my eyes. Emphasis on retard. Well, at least... Well, at least your celly isn't a crybaby. It's like, face the wall in your bunk and silently whimper like a man. Agreed. Have you gone over the suicide options with him? He's too much of a pussy. Don't worry. Someday we'll find someone willing to take the plunge. The plunge was a 4-foot nosedive off the top bunk onto the hard cement slab we called the ground. After much discussion, we were pretty sure that was the most foolproof suicide method available to an inmate. Jackson gave a sigh. I'm just tired of all his complaining. I might be looking to get rid of my celly. There are several ways to get rid of a celly. Getting in a scuffle with him is one. As long as there aren't marks or proof of the altercation, then the one complaining gets moved. Another option is to explain the situation to mental health, asking them to please put in a request for a cell change. However, this can be slow and isn't guaranteed to work. A faster option is to get your cellie to refuse housing or protective custody out, which will get them sent right to the hole. You can also accuse your cellie of wrongdoing, sexual misconduct, or stealing. Accusing a cellie of wrongdoing, sexual misconduct, or stealing are fan favorites to get someone out of someone kicked out a house and off to the hole. Accusing a cellie of wrongdoing, sexual misconduct, or stealing are fan favorites. Or stealing. Accusing a cellie of wrongdoing, sexual misconduct, or stealing, comma, are fan favorites to get someone kicked out of a house and off to the hole. The problem with all these options is you never know what your new cellie is going to be like. Sometimes it's better to accept the evil you know, like a complaining crybaby, than to risk the evil you don't know. Sometimes it's better to accept the evil you know, like a complaining crybaby, than to risk the evil you don't know. You might even end up with a fat cellie. Think about that before you risk it. Buster spent the time out showering, calling his mom, and watching TV. No matter what was on, Buster felt the need to add his commentary. Oh man, those idiots. Why don't they just jump into the water? They're so dumb. Those idiots deserve to die. Watching Titanic. He said while watching Titanic. After the first day, everyone was ready for Buster to leave. As we re-entered my house, I noticed a familiar smell. Buster? I know I saw you take a shower. Yep, but you still smell. I do? He sniffed under his arm. Yes, you do. Why do you still stink, Buster? Well, he stared sheepishly, I forgot soap. So you went and got the soap you'd forgotten. He looked like a child who was caught with his hand in the cookie jar as he slowly responded. No. Okay, that was it. I wasn't here to babysit. I tossed him a deodorant stick and commanded him to put some on. I then went back to reading and did my best to ignore. I then went back to reading and did my best to ignore the 5-year-old living in my house. As night approached, the thump-thump-thumping returned. I rolled my eyes as I jumped down to people watch others in the pod. Whoa! The blanket between his legs was billowing. The blanket between his legs was billowing as I jumped down. He stared at me with wide, unblinking eyes. Hi. Were you masturbating? No, he said slowly with a smile. Knock that shit off. Save it for fucking shower and don't be a fag in my cell. Got that? His smile was gone now. Okay, super sorry. Trevor. We didn't speak for the rest of the night. I didn't feel bad about shouting at him. Sometimes you had to get a little loud and curse to get your point across. I did feel like the situation wasn't fair to me. Why did I get stuck with a child? Classification should have put him in a mental pod where people on a lot of meds, developmentally challenged, insanely loud, or obnoxious belong. Classification should have put him in a mental pod where people on a lot of meds, developmentally challenged, insanely loud, or obnoxious belong. Who knew how long I could deal with Buster? The answer was 3 days. Second day was much like the first, but the third day began the tapping. Tap, tap, tapping. Tap, tap, tap. I was standing at the house window, watching Deadpool, when I heard a tap. I looked over at Buster, sitting at the desk, staring at the wall and breathing rhythmically. I watched as his left index slowly brought his fingernail up and then down on the desk. It wasn't a muffled thud, but a loud, singing tap, created by his hard nail making contact with the metal of the desk. With the metal desk. As the tapping increased, my nerves decreased. Hey Buster, please stop tapping. Let's listen, guys. Could you deal with this? Can you hear that? Super annoying, right? Super annoying. It's got to end. It has to stop. Please stop tapping. He didn't move, respond, or stop tapping. I did my best to ignore the sound and enjoy Deadpool. I succeeded for 30 seconds. Hey man, please stop. It isn't affecting you. Okay, now he's getting ready to get beat. It is affecting me. I'm trying to watch TV. Even I can hear the TV. All this was said without looking my way. He just kept staring at the wall. Okay, I said, trying to stay calm and be understanding of Mr. Difficultly Abled. Well, I can hear it over your tap. Well, I can't hear it over your tapping. Deal with as much as you want and be punched in the face by someone annoyed. Yes. Deal with as much as you want to be punched in the face by someone annoyed. Well, and that's the deal, right? When we're talking about cellmates here, right? These guys are in a closed space, confined space. There's no getting away from somebody. So there's no ability to take breaks. They do something that annoys you, you're stuck with it unless you can get them to actually stop. And if they're not going to, then sometimes you got to get a little aggressive. And that's just the way it is. Okay. Mr. Difficulty Abled. Difficulty Abled. I might change that. I don't know. Like pen clicking. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness. So, yes, however, you don't have pens when you're incarcerated in county. You do have little golf pencils, but you don't have pens. You do have pens. You can buy pens off commissary. They're like 50 cents each, but they don't click. They're not like these ones that you click like this. The pens that they give you are like plastic insert pens, so they're nice and there's no plastic, and you can't really. I mean, there is plastic, but it's not hardened plastic, right? It's a soft plastic gel insert basically that you can use to write with. It's also only like probably half the size of a normal pen. And that way you can't stab anybody with it. I mean, you could, but I don't think it would work out very well. Okay, I said trying to stay calm and understand Mr. Difficultly. Stop the clicking. Wait, is that not good? You don't like that? Difficultly abled. Difficultly abled? I'm going to leave it like that for now. I'm going to have okay be the end of, because it's such a long way until the end, rest of the sentence, and then we'll start a new sentence right here. Well, I can't hear it over your tapping. They're saying, I can't have this life without you. Buster, that isn't what they're saying. So you can hear it. Okay, disabilities be damned. Buster, stop tapping. It's a tick. I can't help it. Tap, tap, tap. Rude. I'm not rude. Just, now I know the thing to do. Here, when he says tap, I'll go like this, so you guys can accurately understand the pain that's happening right now. It's a tick. I can't help it. Then tap on your pants leg or your bunk mattress. It's a tick. I move closer to him in one quick motion, finally drawing his attention. Stop fucking tapping on that fucking desk, you fucking retard. This was yelled at the top of my lungs, with my voice billowing what was usually a loud group of 60-plus men in a confined, echoing room turned into complete silence. Everyone was straining to hear what I might do. Buster sat wide-eyed, staring at me. Can you press the intercom button? No, you press the intercom button. He said, I don't need to talk to... He did. I need to talk to mental health. It's an emergency. Gal on the speaker said she'd let them know. I went back to watching Deadpool while Buster packed up all his things and sat quietly on the bunk, muttering to himself about going home. If he'd been suicidal or was trying to nonchalantly escape the cell without getting beat up, he'd have been out of luck. It took them close to 6 hours to allow Buster to see mental health. That was the last time I saw Buster. He went away to mental health. Then he went to the hole for refusing housing. A deputy came to get his things and asked if I'd threatened him. I told him no, and that I thought Buster's mental handicap impeded him from... Impeded? That doesn't look right. Is it right? This is why I have a phone to check words. Google is the best dictionary ever. Yep, that is impeded. I spelled it right the first time. Impeded from him from getting along with a cellmate. After that quick conversation, I enjoyed several weeks by myself. It was bliss. Leprechaun came by my door. What happened? The entire pod heard you roar. I quickly explained the situation. He was the fifth one to come ask for the details. As word spread, I was quickly gaining a reputation as a badass who threw out any cellie who got on his nerves. Who got on my nerves. As word spread, I was quickly gaining a reputation as a badass who threw out any cellie who got on my nerves. Leprechaun gave a low whistle. Just for tapping on the desk? Doesn't look right. It doesn't look right, but it is right. That is how you spell impeded. Look it up if you want to. I-M-P-E-D-E-D. Impeded. 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 Doesn't look right. Gosh dang it, now you have me second-guessing myself. Nope, it is impeded. Delay or prevent by obstructing them, hindering the sap causing swelling that can impede breathing. Leprechaun gave a low whistle. Just for tapping on the desk? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds awful. Oh, it's not that bad. Bees was bad. He got rid of his cellie by taking... Oh, wait. This is Leprechaun talking. This needs to be... have those little things around it. So we know somebody's talking. Doesn't look good. Nah, I'm good. You do you. You already looked it up. LOL. Yes, I did look it up. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Oh, it's not that bad. Bees was bad. He got rid of his cellie by taking his clothes off and swinging his dick around Ferris wheel style. How to soothe the doubt. Yep. It only takes one. It takes one person. And you know what? The word does look funny. Like, there's something about the word, just the look of the word, that looks kind of funny. So I'm right there with you. It didn't look right. Swing his dick around Ferris wheel style. Whoa, did he get in trouble? Nope. Just claimed his cellie was lying to get him in trouble. The cellmate was moved, and B got to keep his cell to himself. I said cell a lot, so we're going to change cell here to house. Keep his house to himself. Clearly, there are many ways to get a new cellie. However, there's no way of knowing if the next cellie will be better than the last, and you may not want to give classification deputies the idea that you're the problem. They seemed to place problem inmates together, and claiming the cellie was lying or acting up only flew so often. English sucks. You know what, though? I took 3 years of Spanish. I'll take English over Spanish any day. Let me tell you. I took 3 classes in college. Spanish 1, 2, and 3. And by Spanish 3, I was lost. I think I barely scraped a C out of that class. My next few cellies were short-stay cellmates. Guys who got bailed out quick or were only in max for disciplinary reasons and were quickly returned to the dorms. Or were only in max for disciplinary reasons and were quickly returned to the dorms. Yeah, I'm taking the comma out. I hated that because of my charge, I'd always be stuck in a small cell. While violent and disruptive inmates went to the dorms repeatedly, only to return a while later. Nothing about jail is fair. I got used to giving short-stay cellies a basic lay of the land. Here's my speech. Here's my speech to give to them. I'll take German. Oh my gosh, have you seen those YouTube videos where he says all these different languages, or a word like ambulance in all these different languages, and then says it in German, like super harsh and long, and yeah, it's super funny. I feel like I said super a lot right there. All right, ready? This is the speech I'd give all the new cellies. Hi, my name's Trevor. Welcome to my house. There are many things. These are my things. Don't touch them. Quiet time is midnight to 10 a.m. Plan your sleep accordingly. If you don't eat anything on your tray, I ask for first dibs. The calendar on the desk shows our timeout. Shows our times out. The calendar on the desk shows our times out. Do your best to shit during those times, so I'm not trapped with you in this confined space. So I'm not trapped with you stinking up this confined space. Try your best to keep the cell clean. Use the garbage bag. Keep the floor clean and lean down close to the sink when spitting toothpaste so it doesn't get over all our stuff or the mirror. Do all these things, don't be a dumbass, and we'll get along great. Do you play cards or chess? Maybe dominoes? Yeah, some dominoes. I yelled at a few of my cellies, but we all got along okay for the most part. I yelled at a few of my cellies, but we all got along for the most part. A large reason for these smooth relationships was my setting standards. A large reason for these relationships was smooth relationships were the standards I was setting. Were the standards expectations, and them not staying for an extended period of time. A large reason for these smooth relationships were the standards, expectations, and them not staying for an extended period of time. That's true. It's a big one. Without fail, every cellie had to be taught how to go potty. Eventually, nature calls and timeout be damned. And timeout be damned. You just can't hold it in. I almost want to make that one word, but it totally shouldn't be a word. Yep, let's do that. Let's make it one word. Timeout. Timeout be damned. You just can't hold it in. The protocol to taking a shit in the cell begins by informing your cellmate. The bomb bay doors are opening. It's time to drop a massive payload. The cellmate then lays on their bunk facing the wall, giving maximum potty privacy. A sign announces the deuce being taken is then hung in the window for added privacy from those walking by. The strolling bystanders appreciate it too. The cell is a small confined space, so the rule is flush as you go and continue flushing until ready to remove posterior from the porcelain throne. No bowel movements should be heard over the sound of flushing. Unfortunately, this is easier said than done. To accomplish continuous flushing, the shitter must press a small button directly behind the toilet user's back, requiring weight distribution focused on the right ass cheek and the right arm twisting 180 degrees with torso assistance. I suggest an attempt in this restroom technique to fully appreciate the shitty position it is. So for those of you who are experiencing freedom and have never had to go through this, next time you're out there, sit on the toilet, turn, and put your hand all the way behind you, okay, 180 degrees, like I said, and try to take a shit while your hand is extended out that way. Just see how it goes. Just see what it's like. The thing I had to get used to was just how cold my ass got. An all-metal toilet with freezing water swirling around in it makes for a chilling experience. Constant flushing should take care of the smell, but at times it's nice to hang an air freshener or rub deodorant on the vent. The shitty ritual is concluded by washing hands and yelling to the cellie, "The time of darkness has passed. Bask in the light." It's a good scene change right there. I watched from a safe distance as Deputy McGruff banged on B's door. "Take that sign down." I could hear the indignation in B's voice as McGruff looked straight over the sign at him, bare ass on the toilet. "Hey man, I'm taking a shit." "I don't care. This is jail. There's no privacy in jail. Take it down." Challenge accepted. Oh my goodness, SBS. Sav, will you please let me know how that goes? Just let me know, okay? I've got some fond memories from learning how to how to flush as I went on a metal toilet. Oh my goodness. B removed the shit warning sign. Not sure why it mattered when the COs can just glance over it. Well, B learned that some deputies are assholes who will stare at your junk while you're in mid-defecation. B learned that some deputies are assholes who will stare at your junk while you're mid-defecation. This is why most inmates plan their shit and love making sessions around the CO's walkthrough times. Right after a walkthrough is also the safest time to pass contraband, use drugs, or get into a fight. Altman, you're getting a cellie. They never warn you or give you any time to prepare for an added person in your small living space. If I'd known, I'd have gone one more pleasure session in. As I turned, I saw the man carrying a blanket and mattress towards my cell. His name was Max, a semi-clean-cut, sandy-haired guy. He looked all right. Okay. Watch. Okay. You don't think it's as hard as I say it is. Watch, okay? Turn 180 degrees, okay? So when you're sitting on the toilet, where your spine is, that's where the button to flush is, right? So to flush all the time, you have to turn 180 degrees like this and shit while pressing the button the entire time. You cannot take a break. You cannot stop flushing. Okay, this is from beginning to end because your cellmate is going to get pissed. Pissed when they hear anything, when they have to hear piss hitting the toilet, when they hear a drop in, and the smell is awful in such a confined close space. So you just have to keep flushing the entire time. Do you talk about the signaling that happens that the inmates do when the COs start walking around? Yeah, so here's the deal with that, right? Most of us didn't have a hard time knowing when the cellmates... There wasn't a huge reason to signal, because everyone knew the walkthroughs were at the 15-minute mark, okay? They did a walkthrough every single hour at the 15-minute mark of the hour. So we knew exactly when the COs were going to walk through. There weren't many surprises. Now, if there was a surprise walkthrough and we wanted to make sure somebody was aware that it was happening, or we were worried that somebody was coming around for contraband checks, we would whistle. We would do a loud, typically either a normal whistle, or some people were really into the crip whistles. So that's the kind of signaling that happened, and the COs all knew that we were signaling. Everybody whistling to let them know that they were in there. But what were they going to do, right? They can't stop us from whistling or yelling, "Hey, COs are coming, walk through." If they ever came in for another reason, not during the 15-minute mark, we would typically whistle and make sure everybody in the cell knew, or everybody in the pod knew. As we made introductions, that what ones? I don't understand the question. Oh, the crip whistle. So you have Crips, right? The gang, the Crip symbol gang. Black gang, they hate the Bloods. They don't get along with most people, actually. Definitely don't get along with white boys. Don't get along with Latinos. Or the Cervanias. That was a big deal. But anyway, so they would do crip whistles and crip walks, and they had all these crip things. And so some people would do the crip whistles instead of normal whistling. Yeah, so there you go. What does it sound like? I can't crip whistle. I don't know. Hang on, let me see if I can find a crip whistle real quick.
With lower than low prices.
West Coast type beat, crip whistle. West Coast. Bum 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 bum. Could you kind of hear the whistle in there? Kind of? If you couldn't and you want to get a better listen, you can Google it. So, good question in terms of the gang affiliations. There weren't... So when you're in county, okay, so county and prison are huge differences, right? Some of the huge differences. One of the big ones, especially when you're in county and you're in closed custody, you're only dealing with around... See, there are 32 cells. You can have 2 inmates to a cell, except for one cell that is, it's a medical cell, so there's only one person bed in there. And so typically, the pod had 63 people in it. That's typical, okay? So, because you only had 63 people, you didn't have a lot of gang affiliations. Now, you did have people who were gang affiliated. But also because we're so far to the northwest, the majority of what we had to deal with were skinheads. Most people were skinheads, and then blacks rolled with blacks. Hispanics rolled with Hispanics. It didn't really matter what Hispanic gang you were in. If you were Hispanic, you spoke Spanish, you rolled with the Hispanics. That's the way that it went. It went by race. Now, when you're in a prison and you've got a giant population, and you have people not just from a county, but you have people coming from all over the state. That's when you're going to have a bigger time with actual gangs and people running with, running gang colors and things like that. But yeah, so as far as county went, it pretty much, it didn't matter if you were affiliated with a gang. If you were white, you were white. If you were black, you were black. If you were Hispanic, you were Hispanic. And you just did politics that way by gang, by the color of your skin. And you always had the people who were like, we definitely had the skinheads. We had guys who were super racist and who made all kinds of terrible statements and yelling out loud, and who absolutely wouldn't talk to anybody unless they were white. And then they would, and it was awful. So that was the main part. The most that we had really were skinheads. They were the ones running things. And they also, yeah. So, and for those of you who've actually been, you know that skinheads aren't usually skinheads. They're called Aryan Brotherhood. They were Aryan brothers. If they were actual Aryan brothers, there wasn't a real good way to know. Yeah, separation by race mainly. Now, Aryan Brotherhood is, an actual organization, and a lot of people claim to be that. You just never really knew. Just like some people would say they were Crips, some people said they were Blood, some people would say that they're, Latin Kings, and you just looked at them and you were like, you might be, do you have the tats to show it? Because if you're really into it, you've got tattoos to show what you are. And so when they showed you the tats, like the Latin Kings are very specific, right? They've got the crowns. They've got some very specific Latin King look and ink. And so that is when you're like, oh, this guy's for real. Now that being said, our pod was so small that even if you were a legit gangster who was gang affiliated, the amount of pull that you actually had in the pod was pretty minimal, unless you had a lot of friends in the pod, especially since they kept everybody separate in close custody. You only had 8 people out in a group at a time. So the ability to pay someone to get somebody else in a group was pretty ineffectual unless you had a lot of friends. Like me, after I was in for, so many months and I had friends in every single group, all of a sudden, I became an actual risk factor to some people. I hope that answered your question. I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there, I think. He looked all right. As we made introductions, I found out he was a recreational drug user with a temper. So he was just like half the guys who came through Max. The other half were hardcore addicts who ripped off someone's ear with their teeth just for a hit. Because I'm using Max and Max a lot, I'm going to say close custody. That way I'm not saying Max and then Max and then Max. As Max and I got to know each other, Rummy was our game. He got frustrated and quit any card games I tried to teach him. Dominoes was a stretch, and chess was too difficult. He liked poker, but I hated trying to play with only 2 people. It was all boring luck, Rummy. But Rummy, we both enjoyed a good game of Rummy. We'd play all day long with games going to 10,000 points. If you guys know how to play Rummy, 10,000 points is a lot. Max turned out to be a nice guy with a good sense of humor. He kept the cell clean and respected my things. He was someone who I could actually see myself being friendly with on the outside. These first 3 days had gone great. So, who's talking shit? That's supposed to be who. So, who's talking shit about me? I looked up from our card game. What? Max was staring at me with newfound intensity. I can feel someone talking shit about me. Who is it? If someone's talking shit about you, I'm not aware of it. Mm-hmm. Why do you think someone's talking shit? Because I'm not stupid. I can feel their eyes on me, and I see them talking when my back is turned. Because I'm not stupid. I can feel their eyes on me. Let's put a comma there. And see them talking when my back is turned. Huh. Well, I haven't noticed anything. His that followed made it clear he wasn't sure I could be trusted. This was followed by 2 more great days before another question came out of left field. Who has a problem with me? You think someone has a problem with you? Yep. I waited for more of an explanation that clearly wasn't coming before finally prodding. Why? I'm not stupid. Okay. ... Okay. ... Yeah, I like the use of it there. We sat in silence, cards still gripped tight, me wondering how to proceed. If anyone has a problem with you, I'm not aware of it. Again, my answer was not to be readily believed. Have you done anything to get on anyone's bad side? I don't really see you interacting with others during our time out. No, but this is jail. I feel like someone's gonna beat me to send a message. Well, that was unexpected. I wouldn't worry about that, man. We have a pretty okay group of guys we're out with. Was the only response I got. 3 days later, I think Gramps wants to fuck me. What? Yeah, man. He keeps making eyes at me. I'd known Gramps for many months by now. This accusation was incredibly perplexing. I didn't even know what to say, so I kept silent and drew the next rummy card. The next day, I kept an extra close eye on Gramps. As far as I could tell, the only person he seemed to care about was J-Lo on TV. 4 days later, I was laying on my bunk reading as Max got up and asked. 4 days later, I was laying on my bunk reading as Max got up and asked, "So do we have a problem?" I looked away from my bunk to see Max staring at me with the intensity of a boxer awaiting the starting bell. Not that I'm aware of. Why? I can feel the tension between us. I wonder if Max's parents told him that his feelings were always valid. Clearly, they tended to be off the mark. Up until now, we hadn't even had an argument, let alone a hostile word. If we have any tension, I'm not aware of it or what it might be about. You seem distant. Distant? What are we, a couple? What are we, a married couple? I'm gonna change that to married couple. What are we, a married couple? I'm just really into this book. You tell me if we had a problem. Of course. Okay. And with that, we went back to reading. An hour later, we were playing rummy. Max's random spurts of paranoia baffled me. I decided to share my conversations with Jackson. Didn't you say meth was his drug of choice? Yeah. Well, paranoid feelings like you're describing. Let's change that to, paranoia like you're describing are a side effect of meth. Or a side effect. Side effect? Are a side effect of meth. Huh. I wouldn't have thought of that. Yep, just ignore the random paranoia. It'll typically pass quickly. And that's just what I did. When he had a moment of paranoia, I downplayed it, and we went about our day. Excuse me. Aside from a few spurts of paranoia, he was the perfect cellmate. Clean, drama-free, without enemies, and a relatively intelligent conversationalist. Let's talk about enemies real quick. It's really nice to have a cellmate who doesn't have any enemies in the pod. Enemies are the worst because there's going to be shouting matches. They're going to come to your door looking to make a fuss, looking to make a statement. They're going to get in shouting matches and keep you awake, keep you up. You might get gross things thrown under your door. It affects you too in some terrible ways. Getting gross things under the door is a big one. And then you're always worried about like food getting tampered with, and yeah, it's no fun, no bueno. We talked mostly about politics and religion. He showed a lot of interest in my Christian faith, and I was happy to provide him with biblical readings. I'm a big fan of the book of Matthew. Being there to answer any questions Max had was actually fun for me. I had to look up more than a few answers, and it was a great way to pass the time. In Max, you're always looking for new ways to pass time until your freedom. You're always looking for new ways to kill time until you're free. In Max, you're always looking for new ways to kill time until you're free again. Yep, I like it. It's a much stronger sentence. As that time continues to stretch out into more and more months, you'll try to pass time doing things you never thought you'd do before. Hey Trevor, want to snort some sleeping pills with me? I looked up from my book. Excuse me? Max gave a sheepish look. Medical approved me for Seroquel, and I heard if you snort it, you get high for like 20 minutes before you pass out. You're going to risk cheeking your meds. No, I'm going to palm them, or rather, drop them real quick from the cup into the sticky on the door. My parents didn't raise a druggie. I was always a good clean kid, and snorting Seroquel seemed so juvenile with a hint of desperation. It's like what middle school kids raised in broken homes who were originally adopted do as silent cry for attention and the possibility of feeling something other than soul-crushing loneliness. Hell yeah, I'll snort some with you. That night during MedPass. MedPass? MedPass. That night during MedPass, I did my best to read my book inconspicuously. while my cellie palmed his Seroquel. I held my breath while both the fat nurse and Deputy McGruff watched Max through the small window. He took the cup slightly above the door slit, where the corrections staff couldn't see. He quickly dumped the pill into the shampoo sticker we had stuck to the door, and in one fluid motion brought the cup to his lips and swallowed down air with water. He let out, showing under his tongue, as was the custom after taking meds. You gotta show him that you're not cheeking anything. I was about to wish my cellie a nice day in the hole as the nurse whispered something to McGruff. Out of the corner of my eye, I watched closely as the CO opened our cell door, looked Max up and down, surveyed the floor, scrutinized the sink, and closed the door. I couldn't believe he didn't see the huge sticker on the door he'd just opened. Max turned my way with a shit-eating grin. As the nurse and deputy moved into the next house, that was insanely close. You're so lucky. Yep, Max stood tall, hands on hips. Now, let's do some drugs. And we did. We snorted crushed up Seroquel, and as promised, were rewarded. Goodness. Take some water. were rewarded with 20 minutes of fuzzy goodness, followed by a deep and restful sleep. With practice, Max got more fluid at his pill dumping and never got caught. Seroquel became one of my favorite ways to kill time. In jail, peaceful sleep and fuzzy head highs was a wonderful thing. Fuzzy head highs were a wonderful thing. In jail, peaceful sleep and fuzzy head highs were a wonderful thing. It was a sad day when Max left my house for freedom. He didn't want to take a plea deal. But his lawyer scared him. The lawyers all say that proving your innocence isn't worth risking the rest of your life over. I found that really interesting, and especially public defenders. Public defenders said this all the time. All the time. Proving your innocence isn't worth risking the rest of your life over. That's what they would say. Because you've got a lot of people who can either take a plea deal for 2 years or lose at trial and get 15. Right? So to them, it's a risk assessment. It's even if you didn't do it, it's always safer and better to take the deal. Which, in my mind, is like, you want to prove your innocence, especially if you're innocent. You want to prove that. You want to go to trial and you want to prove, I didn't do this. That's what you want to do. Oh my goodness. I think a lot of them, especially public defenders, I think a lot of them are trying to get people to take plea deals because, one, they don't believe that they're actually innocent, and two, it's their job. It's their job to get them out of the system. It's their job to get them off their docket. It's less work for them if they can convince their client to take a deal. So, the lawyers all said that proving your innocence isn't worth risking the rest of your life over. I wouldn't fall for these fear tactics. I, Trevor S. Altman, would clear my name of all wrongdoings. I would go to trial. Box. I would kill at trial. I would take my case to the box. I would kill at trial. I would be free. As Max gathered his things and left our cell for the last time, I offered him a fist bump. I wanted a hug. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to give him a hug. And that's one of the sad things, when you're incarcerated, when you're in jail, you have this whole sense of masculinity and this whole persona that you need to continue to have. So you fist bump somebody even though you've been with them. You've literally been living with this person, right, in an incredibly close proximity and gotten to know them really well for months and months and months. And yet you don't feel like you can hug them. People watching and dealing with short-stay cellmates offered me the opportunity to acquire a skill I never thought I'd have. The ability to recognize a person's drug of choice. The majority of murderers, robbers, and assaulters in Max were either meth or heroin users. Only the rapists were mostly clean, or better described, drug-free. Meth users were easy to spot with their cracked and black teeth. Many also had heavy scabs that they just couldn't ignore, never allowing them time to heal. The less hardcore meth heads still gave themselves away with constant little fidgets, bouncing legs, or simply an inability to ever stand still and focus. Their withdrawals typically entailed sleeping all day. Sleeping for days. Their withdrawal typically entailed sleeping for days. Heroin withdrawals, on the other hand, involved violent shakes, and the addict often laying in their own feces and vomit. Let's take or out of there. Feces and vomit. Nodding off, track marks, scratches, or occasionally feeling for a vein gave these users away. Occasionally feeling for a vein. Nodding off, track marks, scratches, or occasionally feeling for a vein gave these users away. To test my newfound drug user spying skills, I'd watch a new addition to the pod for a while before calling them over to my door and asking if they were such and such drug user. They were always forthcoming with their addiction, usually in hopes that I could provide them with a source to fulfill their needs. A few times, I was able to set them in the right direction, for a finder's fee. A few of the druggies were nice guys, but most were like HIV, annoying beggars, always looking for things with nothing to offer, and a few French fries short of a Happy Meal. Conversations were either too slow or too fast, and typically ended with them asking for food. But I'd have dealt with 1,000 drug-addicted, flea-ridden scum of society, uncultured swine, if it meant I didn't have to endure my next cellmate. I immediately felt sorry for the skinny, pale little white kid. I immediately felt sorry for the skinny, pale little white kid who stood in the door to my cell with tears in his eyes. The fact he was standing where he was meant he was 18, although I'd have placed him closer to 14. And this was another big deal. You put 18-year-old kids, okay, and they're still kids. 18-year-old kids in with grown men in their 30s. It's not going to go over well, and that's one of the problems you see here. Despite the watery eyes, I could tell he was trying to put on a brave face. He gave me a little smile. "Was good, cuz?" Every word was spit out of his mouth, like his tongue refused to utter the final sound. The final syllable. "Was good, cuz" came out more like, "What good, cuz?" He quickly moved to slap hands with me. I didn't bump shoulders with him like he wanted. Instead, I hit his hand in a good old white guy high five. "Hey man, there's your bunk." "Thanks, dog." And he went to setting up his bed. I decided to give him some space and let his eyes dry. I climbed my bunk and went to I climbed to my bunk and started reading. Feeling bad for the kid, I decided to forego the typical welcome speech, at least for the time. After a while, I got off my bunk to see what was on TV from our little cell window. That's when I saw the poor, pitiful, defenseless kid hugging his knees to his chest, tears silently running down his cheeks. He looked up at me. "You can say I a puss or whatever. I wasn't built for this shit place, dog." Was his ghetto lingo way of talking for real? I hid my desire to correct his destruction of the English language. This was a continued source of squeamish annoyance, making me cringe every time his mouth moved, which would turn out to happen every other minute. Every time his mouth moved, which would which would happen every other minute. Which would happen every other minute. It's okay, man. I did my best to I did my best to comfort. First day is always the hardest. First day is always the hardest. Get into a routine and time will go fast. You'll see, it's not so bad. Sniffles were stifled. Appreciate, brah. Okay. No, I am no one's brah. Okay, I am no one's brah. But I stayed silent and just nodded. I really did feel sorry for the kid. If he'd been called with someone, if he'd been sold with someone else, he'd already be made fun of. He'd already be made fun of to hell, and probably have had his socks stolen. I decided I'd do my best to make this kid's time in Max as easy as possible. This would start through distraction. Do you play any cards? He perked up with a sudden smile. Yeah, I'll kick your ass at rummy, dog. Dog, I'll kick your ass at rummy, dog. Bra or bra? So here's the deal. Bra is like more Hawaiian, right? But they always said bra. Like there was no H. It's not bra, it's bra. What's up, bra? Bra. How you doing, bra? So BRA. He perked up with a sudden smile. I'll kick your ass at rummy, dog. I'll kick. Yeah. 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 I'll kick your ass at rummy, dog. No you won't. No you won't. And does every homeboy druggie just inherently have rummy as their go-to card game? Any others? I'm a beast at poker. Rummy it is. As we started playing, I took inventory of his many tattoos. His body was covered in ink. Much of it looked like he may have done it himself. Where'd you get that tattoo work done? He looked at his arms. You like that? No, I didn't say that. He removed his shirt, revealing faded ink across his entire pale body. He looked as if he wanted a 13, but they drew a 31. You guys get that reference? He wanted a 13, but they drew a 31. Can you believe I got most of it for free? No dinero needed. Can you believe I got most of it for free? No dinero needed. I could absolutely believe that. I got a buddy who for $50 who for $50 will do as much tat work as you can handle. As much tat work as you can take. I decided even for the cheap, faded 5-minute ink job I was staring at, 50 was too much. I decided even for the cheap, faded 5-minute ink job I was staring at, comma, 50 was too much. He does them out of his house. Super convenient. He does them out of his house. Super convenient. Dog. Super convenient, dog. Looked it up. It's bra. Yes, well, I'm going to stick with bra because he didn't pronounce or he didn't really use the H sound. It was just brah. Sup, brah? How you doing, brah? I wondered if it came with the choice of a blunt or a dab. My favorite tattoo he had was a little green tree under his eye, like it was trying to be a teardrop. My favorite tattoo he had was a little evergreen tree under his eye, like it was trying to be a teardrop. My favorite tattoo he had was a little evergreen tree under his eye, like it was trying to be a teardrop. My favorite tattoo he had was a little evergreen tree under his eye, comma, like it was trying to be a teardrop. My favorite tattoo he had was a little evergreen tree under his eye, like it was trying to be a teardrop. You see my little tree tear? You see my little tree tear? He pointed at it. He pointed at it with an inked finger. I got that because my homie was gunned down. Okay. Don't believe that. And you should never tell anybody that again. Yeah, I'm in here for gun running. No, you're not. Why'd they cage you, beast? Trying to be nice and not be a beast right now? Trying to be nice and not be a beast right now. Lawyer screwed me over. Dirty Jews? Whoa, my skull was deep. I'm a Jew. He gave a big toothy grin. No disrespect, homie. It's just an expression. Don't mean nothing by it. I decided to ignore this and continue playing. As his eyes found their way to my bunk, he let out a gasp. Brah, you rollin'. His sudden volume and excitement when he was losing so badly was momentarily perplexing. Then I saw that he was talking about my stash of peanuttles, Kit Kats, and chips I kept next to my bunk. Dog, you gotta share that wealth. I'll get you square. Feeling sorry for this kid, wanting to be nice, and maybe feeling sorry for this kid. Feeling sorry for the kid, wanting to be nice, and maybe falling for his weird, smiling, excited, fast-moving attitude. His weird, smiling, excited, fast-moving attitude. I gave him a few of everything. He was happy, munching down while telling me to make sure and write down all he owed me. As we got back to our game, I saw that he needed... As we got back to our game, I saw what he needed and began feeding him garbage cards. He gave a smile as he spoke in his always loud, excited voice. Nigga, fuck you. I looked at him more than a little surprised. Nigga, fuck you. Nigga, fuck dog, fuck you. Streamed from his mouth. Streamed from his mouth with every card. Nigga, fuck you. Nigga, fuck dog, fuck you. Streamed from his mouth with every playing card and loss he took. His smile told me all was in good fun. Told me it was His smile told me it was all in good fun, but his pale white skin made me uncomfortable with the N-word's use. He seemed too unaware to notice my apprehension. Wanting to go back to my book and that's better. Wanting to go back to my book and needing a break from his voice. Wanting to go back to my book. Wanting to return to my book and needing a break from his voice, I initiated our playtimes end by saying, "One more game. I should probably let you know I'm a Crip." No, you're not. You're white. You're a Crip? You're a Crip? Straight up, cuz. Roll eyes. That's cool. My eyes rolled. That's cool. Yeah. So no one better mess with me or my dogs. Oh my god, I shared my snacks with this kid. Prove it. There are no words to adequately describe the crip walking, finger twitching spectacle that followed. Through suppressed laughter, I asked, "So you don't have any tattoos, tags to show your affiliation?" Nah. So you've probably never been blooded or gone through any real initiation. He looked down at a 5-year-old caught in the cookie jar. He looked as a 5-year-old caught in the cookie jar might. He looked as a 5-year-old. He looked embarrassed. He looked embarrassed, like he forgot to wear pants to school. Nah. This nah came much slower than his normal ghetto slang. This nah came much slower than his normal ghetto slang. And you're white. Yeah. 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 You probably shouldn't tell anyone else here you're a Crip. The black guys aren't going to like that. I still felt like looking out for the kid. For some reason, his face reminded me of my little brother. Made me think how he'd fare in Max. For some reason, his face reminded me of... For some reason, his face reminded me of my little brother. Made me think about how he'd fare in Max. After our card game, I called over B and had him slide Crip a few books under the door. Crip a few books under our door before I climbed up to crack open my own novel. After our card game, I called over B and had him slide Crip a few books under our door before I climbed up to crack open my own novel. Slide Crip a few books. Yeah, let's take that out. After our card game, I called for B. After our card game, I called for B and had him slide Crip a few books and had him and had him slide Crip a few books before I climbed up to crack open my own novel. Crip listed off the titles as he read the backs of them. Crip listed off the titles as he read their covers. This one sounds boss. Want to read it? Half distracted with my own reading, I answered, I'm sure I'll read it. I'm sure I'll read it at some point. This one sounds boss. Want to read it? Half distracted with my own reading, I answered, I'm sure I'll read it. You proficient? Pronounced proficient? Pronounced pro fish ant. Pro fish ant? You proficient? Pronounced pro fish ant, like an ant who's a pro fisherman. At group reading, you proficient at group reading? Engaged in my own book, I unthinkingly replied, I actually made my living reading things to people as an announcer and MC. Which is true, I did do that. In case you didn't know. Which a lot of people didn't. But, you know. Engaged in my own book, I unthinkingly replied, I actually made my living reading things to people as an announcer and MC. Great, he exclaimed as he half-tossed the book he had on my chest. Half-tossed the book. Great, he exclaimed as he half-tossed the book on my chest before getting on his own bunk. I blinked twice. What had just happened? Taken by complete surprise at the absurd request, I actually opened up the book and read the first chapter aloud to him, just as I would my own child. As I finished the first chapter, all 18 pages, I closed the book with a loud thump. Crip said, Great stuff, dog. Crip said, Great stuff, dog. As he got up and without asking, started dealing out rummy. The next few days were a blur of parenting and having to explain things I shouldn't have had to explain to a fully grown man. To a full-grown man. Full-grown man. The next few days were a blur. The next few days were a blur of parenting and having to explain things I shouldn't have had to explain to a full-grown man. Why didn't I want to read to him aloud? Why wouldn't I front him a few more juice packets? Why did I have to wash his hands after using the toilet? Especially if we were playing. Why can't you share Why couldn't... Why couldn't I share my shirt? Why did I have to wash his... Why didn't I want to read to him aloud? Why wouldn't I front him a few more juice packets? Why did I have to wash his hands after using the toilet? Why did he have to wash his hands after using the toilet, especially if we were playing cards together? Why couldn't I share my shirt? Why did I always win at rummy? You cheating? Why didn't I want to read to him aloud? Why wouldn't I front him a few more juice packets? Why did he have to wash his hands after using the toilet, even when he only went number one? Why couldn't I share my shirt? Why did I always win at rummy? You cheating? Was I cheating? Why did he have to wipe down the toilet seat after every piss? These all brought out explanations and more understanding than they deserve. These all brought out longer explanations. These all brought out longer explanations and more understanding than they deserved. The questions finally tapered off. These questions finally tapered off after, like most parents do this, I eventually snapped. Why do you always get to sit at the desk during meals? Cripps said, too loud and too fast. Because I'm on the top bunk and I'm not going to sit on your... Because I'm on the top bunk, and I'm not going to sit on your bunk to eat my food. How fucking stupid are you? The outburst brought me a day before the questions started up again. There truly are no stupid questions, only stupid people who ask questions. Cripps' behavior had me asking a few of my own questions. Why did I have to tell him to shower? Why did I have to tell him to shower? Why did he have to fist bump everyone who came to our door? Especially when they came to talk to me, not him. Why did he have to fist bump everyone who came to our door, especially when they came to talk to me, not him? Does he think the way he talks is normal? Do Cripps think talking like they have polio looks cool? Do Cripps think talking like they have polio sounds cool? Did he think people thought he was hard for rolling up only his left pant leg and wearing the laundry sack as a do-rag? How has a black man not kicked his ass for using the N-word? How has a black man not kicked his ass for using the N-word? Don't real Crips say cuz? Let's take out that last sentence right there. And finally, is this what happens when you don't have a father to raise you? 3 hours a day, 3 hours a day away from Crip wasn't enough, but I made the most of it. I talked with Jackson about Crip, or Poser, as we referred to him. Or Poser, as we referred to him. As always, the 3 hours ended too soon, and I trudged back to the cell. Crip was already laying in his bunk. Having no friends, he didn't do much with his time out. With the time out. As our house door closed, I smelled something strong. A cheesy, delicious smell. I knew immediately it was one of my bags of cheese ruffles. If you don't think that they have a scent, you're wrong. They definitely have a scent. Oh, they have a scent, boys. They have a scent. Stretch it out, stretch it out, stretch it out. I silently took inventory of all that had been taken. As it turns out, quite a bit. Crip still owed me a sandwich. I silently took inventory of all that had been taken. As it turned out, quite a bit. Crip still owed me a sandwich, so I decided to read quietly and wait till after dinner before confronting the thief. If we were going to the hole, I was going to get paid back first. At dinner, I took his sandwich and dessert. He didn't argue. I could tell he knew something was up. He even pressed the button and told the COs he wanted to be moved, that we weren't getting along. They said tough. I asked him why he did that. Crip said Crip said he could feel the tension, and he didn't want to fight. I just gave him an before selecting the longest, sharpest pencil as a precaution. Take precautions. I'm spelling that wrong. Take precautions, yeah. Precautions. Like you're cautious. Sharpest pencil as a precaution. I just gave an before selecting the longest, sharpest pencil as a precaution. Putting a rounded eraser tip on it, I had myself a punch spike. I placed it within easy reach on my bunk. I placed it on my bunk within easy reach. Putting a rounded eraser tip on it, I had myself a solid punch spike. I placed it on my bunk within easy reach. Looking down at Crip, he looked very small sitting on his bunk, reading his book. But I had no more sympathy. He'd proven himself to be a little piece of shit. He'd taken advantage of my kind nature, and I'd never be as kind or sympathetic to anyone in jail again. I calmed my voice. We need to talk. Let's talk. He didn't look away from his book. I decided to start small. You stole one of my Vaseline. My lips were chapped. My lips were chapped. My lips were chapped. That makes stealing okay? I'll get you back. And how are you going to get me back for all the commissary you stole? I knew you knew. And yet you never fessed up. Yeah, 2 S's. Why is that not giving me an option? Fessed up or apologized. And yet you never fessed up or apologized. Look, I'll put money on your books and you can have my breakfast made. He never looked up from his book. He never looked up from his book. Why'd you steal from me after I'd given you commissary? Been nothing but nice to you. Why'd you steal from me after I'd given you commissary? I've been nothing but nice to you. I was hungry. Fucking entitled prick. I grabbed the book out of his hands as I screamed and threw it across the cell. You don't fucking steal from me. Steal from me? I punched him in the solar plexus. He crumpled back into the corner of his bunk, hugged his knees like a little schoolgirl and wept. You fucking thief. You're a fucking thief. He began to shake and buried his face. I toyed with the idea of yanking him out and beating his ass into the ground. At this moment, after having just written about this piece of shit, I wish I had. Instead, I stole his books and continued to yell. I decided if he tried to come out from under the bunk, I'd punch him back into it. But he just remained in the corner, weeping uncontrollably. Leprechaun came to the window. Everything okay in here? It got pretty loud. I stepped aside so he could see Crip crying his eyes out. We're fine. Just teaching him not to be a fucking thief. I shouted the word thief in Crip's direction. Causing a new onset of crying shakes. Okay, Leprechaun said with a little too much enthusiasm as he ran off to spread the word on what the scary loud Big 400 was up to. On what the scary loud Big 400 was up to. Big 400 was up to. And so my legend grew. Tired of Crip's sniffles, I told him to press the fucking button and PC out. He started stepping across the cell before hesitating and sheepishly turning towards me with big calf eyes. Can't I stay? No, you fucking can't stay. At my loud outburst, he ran to the button. Click. Hello? I need to go to the hole. Why? My cellie and I are gonna get violent. Hang on. The voice on the intercom never came back. His hand shook so bad I could practically taste the fear in the air. I had him sit quietly back on his bunk. He'd pressed the button 4 more times trying to get to the hole. We finally flagged down a CO. Had things actually gone physical? Crip looked at me before slowly shaking his head no. Did you threaten him, Mr. Altman? No, sir. Well, then you two be adults. Classifications will be here to move you Wednesday. That was 3 days away. No. Wednesday. The hole must have been really full. As the seal left, I put Crip back on his bunk. Well, I said thoughtfully, if you're staying... Well, I said thoughtfully, if you're staying, then you're gonna pay me back any way you can. Crip stayed on his bunk, wide-eyed and shaking. Over the next week, I took his lunch and dinner trays, yelling at him to shut the fuck up and stop moaning about how hungry he was. He was lucky I let him keep breakfast. 2 trays for lunch and dinner was a lot of food. I ended up giving most of it away. Crip just stared and starved, to my pleasure. When it was our time out, I told Crip he wasn't allowed in the cell without me. Leprechaun had done a pretty good job of spreading the tale of Big 400 putting the thieving Crip crybaby in his place. Crip spent his time out as a pariah. No one interacted with him at all. Get the fuck away from my door, retarded fucking thief, was a common response to his attempts to communicate. He spent his entire last week in Max sitting in sad silence. Few are ever lower than jailhouse thief. Few are ever lower than a jailhouse thief. Crip took a plea deal and left after a week of starving in silence. He promised to put money on my books to pay me back. I, of course, never saw a dollar. Whew. Water. Some people don't like having a cell to themselves. They get lonely and need someone to talk to or play cards with. I, however, thought my month without a cellmate was bliss. My cell was clean. The only BO was my own. The extra bunk and cubbies were perfect to lay out and organize my writing. With no one to disturb me, I got up or went to bed. At my leisure, able to talk to anyone at my door when I wanted. I spent a lot of time getting the room hot and sweaty, doing kick-ass karate moves shirtless, making sure my form was Jackie Chan perfect. Jackie Chan perfect in the mirror. 90% of martial arts is in your kung fu noise and facial expressions. I have a killer furrowed brow. But the best part was being able to make love to myself 6 times a day. Whoop. Hey, look, you guys can see my background. Look at it. Author Altman short stories. Oh my goodness. The best part was being able to make love to myself 6 times a day and let shower time just be for getting clean. Whenever the hormones came over me, I put up the privacy paper in the window, lay atop my bunk, and let the little blondie in my head dance. Before, after, sometimes even during meals, I'd start caressing. I'd start caressing the perfectly perky tits in my head. The left one always bounced. The left one always bounced the right way, while the right tit's nipple would get hard without a simple would get hard with a simple thought. I'd put my sudsy solution on them so they'd bounce up and down the white foam. My sudsy solution on them. As they bounced up and down, the white foam would go flying off the sensitive pointy nipples. With suds slowly sliding down the round tits, I shook my bottle of soapy suds, up and down, up and down, up and click. Altman! Nope, they scared her off. What? Pack up your shit. Amazing how they can cuss at detainees, but we can't cuss back. Why? Fear had crept into my voice. You're moving. To where? Pack your shit. I slowly surveyed my room. Pack my shit. I had a lot of shit. I slowly surveyed my room. Pack my shit. I had a lot of shit. So packing it all... I had a lot of shit, so packing it all was impossible. 2 trips, maybe 3 would be needed. I didn't want to move. Cell 26 was my home. Plus, I liked everyone in my group. Well, not everyone, but the ratio of likes to loathing. But the ratio to likes to loathe entirely was a lot better than the other groups. Was a lot better than... Plus, I liked everyone in my group. Well, not everyone, but the ratio of likes to loathe entirely was a lot better than in other groups. My heart started racing. What if I was headed to the hole? What if my gambling and mafia-style loan sharking finally caught up to me? Calm down, Trevor. I'd simply have to explain that... Calm down, Trevor. I'd simply have to explain that the little Mexican kid from Puerto Rico had it coming, and he still owed me a damn pocket of mayo. Damn packet of mayo. As the classification COs came to get me, I was relieved to find I was remaining in the same group and just moving one cell over. As they opened the door to my new house, I came face to face with my new cellie, everybody's favorite 85-year-old war veteran, Gramps. Everybody's favorite 85-year-old Vietnam veteran, Gramps. Gramps was the closest thing I found to the perfect cellmate. He slept so much it was like having the cell to myself. He slept so much it was like having the cell to myself. When he was out, he was out. I talked with anyone when he was out, comma. When he was out, he was out. I talked with anyone at the door, made love, even took shits any time I wanted without disturbing the sleeping old man. Even took shits any time I wanted to. Any time I wanted without disturbing the sleeping old man. When he was out, he was out. I talked with anyone at the door, made love. I talked with anyone at the door, made love, even took shits any time I wanted without disturbing the sleeping old man. There were downsides. Gramps was a close talker. He never said thank you, and he chewed apples with his mouth open. The last one I dealt with by wearing earplugs during meals and eating my apple at the same time as him. The perks far outweighed the downsides. He showered every day, never smelling. He was respectful of my things and kept his own right dress. He scrubbed and mopped the cell every day. I never had to clean. And best of all, he came with some pretty amazing war stories. Shrapnel scarring, a dead eye, and a haunted voice let you know that he wasn't full of shit when he talked about getting his men blown up. He only cried once during a story, the manliest tears I had ever seen. He cried while talking about his machine gunner getting killed. His snoring got bad every so often. I learned to gently bang on the metal bunk until he rolled over. Not a terrible ordeal. Not a terrible ordeal. His PTSD-induced night terrors were much worse. Screaming and uncontrollable thrashing in the dead of night were hard to ignore. Screaming and uncontrollable thrashing in the dead of night were hard to ignore. A few times I found him laying on the ground or perched in the corner. I'm thankful I never woke up with a pencil in my neck. He never played card games, but we did have one game where he'd talk about actors and musicians from the 50s and 60s. I wouldn't know them. He'd be shocked and tell me how amazingly talented and famous they were. I, of course, wouldn't remember anything he'd said about them later. I grew to really enjoy the old man. His steady, quiet breathing was comforting while I sat writing at my desk. It was on one such occasion that I saw some paperwork that Gramps had left out. Detainees often received copies of the evidence against them from their lawyers in a large manila envelope. This was one such envelope. Alright, guys, this is where I make a mistake. Bear with me. Looking at the peaceful sleeping old man next to me, I decide peeking at his paperwork would be a huge invasion of his privacy. As I opened up the envelope and started to read, I was shocked. It appeared that Gramps unloaded an entire clip into his loving wife. His defense, it was due to PTSD. The accounts, doctor's reports, and pictures were a lot to take in. I looked over at the alleged murderer sleeping to my left. No wonder he always talked about the war. Comma. He had to let it out of his head, or he might reenact it to a bloody end. The pain and suffering and the pain, comma, suffering, comma, and depression we touched on just a little bit became clear. However terrible it must be to know you murdered the woman you loved in cold blood. That's a much stronger sentence. The pain, suffering, and depression we talked on just a little bit. The pain, suffering, and depression we touched on. The pain, suffering, and depression we touched on became clear. It must be terrible to know you murdered the woman you loved in cold blood. He didn't belong cooped up with me in a cell. He belonged in a treatment facility with real doctors giving him what he needed to function in society. He needed love, compassion, and medication. He needed me. There we go. We have it. Chapter 7. Dangers of Boredom. Unfortunately, I didn't get paid to listen to people's problems. When you don't get paid, it gets boring. But lately, everything was boring. Everything was boring. Let's take a look real quick. Chapter 7, guys. Dangers of boredom. Why is boredom dangerous? Well, let me tell you. Boredom is dangerous in jail because when you're bored and you don't know what to do, you start doing stupid things. Okay? So when you're bored on the outside world, in the real world, you watch TV. You do things that kill time. In jail, you're limited in terms of time killers. So you end up doing some things that are really stupid. I stood watching the other detainees go about their day. A long-haired large man made eye contact with me as he slowly pissed his pants. Over the many months, I become desensitized to even the funniest of antics. After a while, one crazy guy who should be heavily medicated in a mental hospital is just like the last. Dangers of boredom. I could write a novel on that. Becca, right? No, it's true. There are some serious dangers because once you're bored, you never know what stupid shit you're going to get yourself into. That's why, what's the old Christian saying, the old biblical saying, the devil dreams on an idle horse. The devil dreams on an idle horse because you have nothing to do, so you have time to think about all these terrible things to do. Let's turn on the light so I can see this better. There we go. Okay. Finding a book to enjoy reading was becoming harder and harder. According to a CO, a urine-soaked towel was thrown in the book box, ruining our books. The new book box was full of novels donated by a community organization. A community organization. Clearly, the community didn't realize a jail would be full of adult men. The majority of the books were sappy romance novels or children's books about lost puppies. A few conspirators and I set to slowly destroying and throwing away the books in hopes of them being replaced by literary delights. What are we going to do if we don't get the books we like? We're going to destroy the old books. With terrible books and a mundane existence, my 21 hours in my cell were suffocating. Maximum security was supposed to keep violent inmates away from the rest of the population, or protect inmates in danger. But this institution seemed to use it to punish those charged with specific crimes. After over half a year, with 21 hours 21 hours in a cell and few choices in the way of distractions, you began feeling a twinge insane. With boredom seeping in, eating the cream walls, and closing in on me, I had to find some new distractions. Moving hands are unhurting hands. Searching through my things for something to do, I stumbled upon the old playing cards. My first psycho schizophrenic excuse me. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Whew. Guys, I need to go get some water. Hang on, I will be right back, okay? Be right back. And as always, if you are enjoying this podcast, like it, comment, and share it with a friend who is either an avid reader or another writer. They might enjoy the sessions.
Billy, you know what, Becky? Put some gloves on your kid's hand and we'll call it a day. Frostbitten from the North Pole. That's creative. Thank you. That's creative.
Make it a thing, you know?
Right.
Put it a little bit on their nose.
Festive.
Cute.
I just can't imagine being pre-K or elementary school.
The week before break.
What's up, guys?
Tired evening.
I am back. I just needed a quick break to eat a cupcake. I know it's super bad for me, right? Put that crap in your mouth. It's going to ruin your game. There's a really good way of saying that. Hang on. No, it'll come to me later. Anyway, hello everyone. Hello my people. Okay. Let's continue typing. And again, I'm not really worried about spelling or anything. Let's get the words that are on the page into the computer program. I should have, however, waited until I was done at the bottom of the page, because then, you know what I could have done then is knew exactly where I was. Now I have to re-find my place. Hang on. Searching through. Found the old by my schizophrenic cell he had left. Bent both directions. They were no good to play with. That's when an idea hit me. I picked up a pen and the cards and began to write. If the Jews have all the money, how do the whites have all the power? It's a solid question, my friend. Nine no's and a yes is still a yes. Never rub another man's rhubarb. Never rub another man's rhubarb. And always pee after sex. It's a big one, guys. Sterilize that shit. Make sure that you stay healthy. We're just a few golden tidbits of advice that went down on the cards. Every card was different. Every single card was different, guys. Took my time. On my time out early in the morning, while all were snuggled soundly in their beds, I Jailhouse Santa went to work. Everyone woke up to a card or two under their doors. The talk of the cards and the gold nuggets of wisdom on them filled the day. By the second day of card distribution, they'd figured out I was Santa. The cards were enjoyed, laughed at, discussed in detail, and even placed in a few house windows for reading. Unfortunately, by the third day, I was out of cards and extremely bored. Nope, hang on. And extreme boredom. And extreme boredom was back on. Maybe now was a good time to experiment with drugs. I knew the guy in house 21 brought in a bunch of drugs. I said hello, and for $1 worth of coffee, I got some heroin. He called it brown. Unfortunately, I said hello, and I knew the guy in house 21 brought in a bunch of drugs. I said hello, and for a bunch of coffee, I got some heroin. He called it brown. Unfortunately, these drugs had been in his ass. A fact which became evident as soon as they were within 3 feet of my nose. Ayo. No longer able to even contemplate doing brown, I decided to go back to snorting good old sleeping drugs. Good old sleeping meds. Getting high and passing out. I knew a Mexican from Brazil who is known for cheeking his meds. I bought a few of those and enjoyed myself. But after a while, I realized how expensive drugs were and how lazy I felt sleeping the day away. I could always go back to drugs if I couldn't find anything better. They are incredibly easy to get in jail. Fuck you, you lying ass bitch. Finally, some entertainment. It was a heroin junkie who didn't mind his drugs smelling like ass because they were inside someone's ass. He was on the phone having a loud conversation with his girlfriend, who he called wife. I quickly grabbed paper and pencil to record the show. You're a liar. You cheated on me. You stupid, good-for-nothing slut. You're a whore. And you're a whore, a whore, a whore. Moments of silence followed. Every few outbursts, while the entire pod awaited his continually louder responses to his wife's infidelity. You keep lying. You know how much I hate when you lie. Why do you do that to me? You're hurting me, bitch. You cunt. Silence. No. Because I know you. You sucked his dick. I know you sucked his dick. You fucking stupid bitch. This is a real conversation, by the way. If you guys don't know, this happened. This is a real conversation. These things... He is on the phone. He was on the phone yelling this so loud, saying these words, calling her all kinds of terrible names. Oh, it was awful. And it was so entertaining to watch. It was so much fun. It was way better than TV. I wonder if you can get domestic violence charges from a phone call. This phone call could definitely qualify as violent. Their calls are all recorded. Why don't you just go kill yourself? You stupid fucking cunt. You sucked his dick, bitch. Bitch. And with a slam, he hung up the phone before sliding down to the ground and bursting into loud, wailing tears. Loud wailing. For a moment, there was only the sound of his sobs before applause and shouts filled the pod. Wah! Wah! Will she suck my dick too? Does she eat ass too? Does she eat ass? Cry, baby, cry! All followed by spurts of laughter, while his tears continued to fall. Tomorrow, the crazy, codependent couple was back together. They'd go back to fighting about her having sexual intercourse with other guys every few days. The pod always enjoyed the interaction, the entertainment, and making fun of the idiot. With the show over, I turned back to my cell. The problem with exciting, crazy, or funny things that happened in the pod is they were all short-lived, probably averaging 10 minutes out of every 24 hours. Maybe I could up that number. I bet a race war would be fun. Not to join, but to watch. There weren't enough people out at once to have a good one. But maybe I could pit a black guy against a Mexican from Cuba. I knew that the Mexican's ex was named Jenna, and that black guy was super homophobic. He got uncomfortable anytime I called him a big black stallion. Using these pieces of information, I came up with the story that Jenna broke up with him after walking in on a guy pounding Mexican's ass. When asked why, his reply was that he did 6 years in a California prison. So of course he liked it in the ass. Becoming a true rumor weed, I told my tale near and far. Soon, everyone knew the story, including our favorite homophobic black guy. The next day, the COs did a random search of their cell and took Mexican away to the hole for drugs. When Homophobe was asked about it, he said, "I had to get rid of that fag." He kept staring at me and wanting to touch my dick. So my rumor worked. But its results weren't as exciting as I'd hoped. In my cell once more, boredom began creeping. What I needed was to watch a good fight. Finding the pod where everyone could enjoy it was rare. But I thought maybe I could start one with the right emotionally unstable subjects. Insert story of Gaucho, cowboy, and cumbugs. I can do that. That's where that story goes, huh? Alright, that's where that story goes. Gaucho. Gosh dang it. I'm spelling Gaucho wrong again? Gaucho. Is it Gaucho? Gaucho. Gaucho. Yep. Now there was an idea, and he's mad at the house mouses. Leprechaun was a house mouse. Now the wheels were turning. I called my favorite old black man over. Hey, just so you know, cover up your video visit. Your video visit's better. That's a big deal, guys. People staring in on your video visits, it's really disrespectful. What you mean, youngster? Well, I'm no snitch, you know. I know that. But Leprechaun was staring kinda hard during your last visit. That boy looking at my wife? I gave a little shrug, trying not to smile. Aw, hell no, boy. And he stormed off, right to our favorite leprechaun. What the hell you doing staring at my girl? Leprechaun looks shocked. Excuse me? You heard me, youngster? You don't glance her way, or I'll knock your teeth in. I'll fucking curb stomp your ass till the body stops twitching. So violent. Super violent. Everyone on the pod quietly watched the exchange. Look, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not staring at anyone. Good. Keep your eyes to yourself. Keep your eyes to yourself. Whew. Stretch. Stretch. Good. Now keep your eyes to yourself. Leprechaun gave an exasperated whatever as he walked away. Well, that was disappointing. But I wasn't ready to give up. The next day, I called over Leprechaun. He explained his fear of getting an assault charge since Gaucho was such an old man. I gave a shrug. Just so stupid, him telling everyone how badly you want his wife. I even heard him telling B and Jackson a few minutes ago. That old fucker still spraying shit about me staring at his wife. Yep. I said, try not to smile. Okay. And with that, he went to confront Gaucho. Your old, wrinkly ass still talking shit about me? Keep my name out of your fucking mouth. Who you calling wrinkly, youngster? You! You've got more wrinkles than my dad's ball sack. Gaucho had a cleaning bottle in his hand, looking like he was ready to spray it in Leprechaun's face. Come in my house and let's sell this, youngster. No, you come in my house. Fuck dat. And just like that, it was over. Both walking away, neither willing to risk getting in major trouble. But that's how 90%, that's how 90, where's the little percent symbol? Where is it? Oh, there it is. You think you know the keyboard so well, and then all of a sudden you need that one symbol you never use, and you're like, where is it? Oh, it's the same place the 5 is. Gotcha. Shift 5. Excuse me. Ha 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 ha. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. But that's how 90% disagreement yelling matches end, with no one willing to actually throw the punch that would mean 30 days in the hole without books, commissary, or card games with friends. Leprechaun would also lose his house mouse job. Okay, so starting arguments was a short-lived fun. With only 8 people out at a time, my choices in fighters to instigate was limited, and that was a real shame. Looking out my window, I saw the COs doing their checks. One of them was a new kid in training. I'd seen him for about a week, and the other COs were having him call in the checks as of late. In a sudden stroke of genius, I ducked down in the corner where he couldn't see me. When he called in the inmate count, he was one off. His face fell as the training deputy told him, "You gotta get the count right, man." Anytime the kid was working, I'd hide. More often than not, the count was wrong, and he'd get yelled at. Apparently, no one ever told him to count the bunks. After a few weeks, I never saw him again. I started thinking of other ways to mess with the deputies. Deputies! Deputies. Mealtimes were my time to try and have a laugh at a CO's expense. It felt good. I started when giving the trays back after the meal. I'd stand to the right of the door where the CO couldn't see me. My left hand would press da 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 dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Okay. Stretch. I'd stand to the right of the door where the CO couldn't see me. My left hand would press Hang on, sorry guys. How do I still have more? My left hand would press, there we go, the tray. The tray against the door. As soon as the deputy unlocked the slit in the door, I'd shove my tray out. Often, the deputies, having not seen me, weren't ready for the tray. It made me smile to see them stumble to catch the tray. Once in a blue moon, the tray crashed to the ground, sending little leftover bits of corn, peas, and water flying. Watching a CO clean up the mess made my day. That is until one day when the tray went spilling out onto McGruff's legs. Are you fucking kidding me? I still have no idea how I didn't end up in the hole. Everyone agreed they must be really full to not have snagged me. We're talking like they must have had 2 or 3 inmates to a cell. That's the only way. After I switched to kosher meals, my food was delivered in a styrofoam container instead of a plastic tray. Opening up a whole new world of possibilities. I started just hiding the plastic spoon where it was hard to see. But I got tired of them asking me where it was. My mind began turning when I saw the COs carrying the stack of 7 special styrofoam meals down the stairs, stacked one on top of the other, and mine sat second from the top. The next day I piled all my apple cores, leftover bread, trash, anything with weight, to the back corner of the styrofoam. To seal the deal, I added a bit of water. My heart soared when I saw my lopsided styrofoam sent the stack crashing down the stairs. Food and spoons going everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. It was beautiful. It was beautiful, class. Eventually the house mouses got tired of cleaning up the crashing messes, so I eased up on my destruction. Had to do it, guys. Had to ease up. I still added water to my container, though. Every so often, a CO would pick up the container sideways, sending water down their pants. If they asked about it, I replied that the rice was watery. Unfortunately, making a deputy look like they'd peed themselves didn't take up much time. I had to find more distractions. Standing at my door, bored, people watching, I came to realize watching people wasn't as much fun when I was the same. Hang on, let's backtrack. When it was the same faces week to week, month to month. Sure, sometimes one meth head would be replaced by another, or that mental handicapped guy will be loosed back on society to have another take his place. Watching one way just like watching another. Watching one was just like watching another. Exact same thing, guys. Like, you met one druggie, you've met them all. Every one of them needed to be told not to beg. Wait until the COs did their walkthroughs to ask for things. And for the love of God, take a shower. If everyone followed these 3 rules, they'd have a far better time in Max. Still at my door, I could hear a conversation next door where Autist was rattling off a bunch of was rattling off a bunch of numbers. It took me a moment to realize it was his PIN number. This was a big one, guys. Getting someone's PIN number. It was his PIN number. He was letting someone use it to listen to music on the tablet as payment for some food. I sprang from my position for paper and pencil. With Otto's PIN number in my hands, I couldn't wait for my timeout. In the privacy of the tablet room, I logged into Autist's account. He'd been talking about how he had naked pictures on his images that somehow got through. That was a lie. The only images I saw were of his family, his mom. His mom was hot. Genetics say he shouldn't have been as ugly as he was. Next, I opened up his messages. In there, I found begging, groveling, and crying to his mom about his fear of prison. The best one was, "This can't be happening to me." Everyone is so big and mean to me. You have no idea what it's like. If I go to prison, I'm going to be raped and die. I'm not exaggerating. I'll literally be raped and killed. You gotta talk to the lawyer again. I'm in literal tears out of desperation. There has to be an amount we can pay to get out of this. What about a second mortgage? I'm only 19. I wasn't made for this. I want to go home. Please, Mom. Find a way to get me home. I don't want to die. I don't want to have sex with a man. Please, Mom. Save me. And that's a true note, guys. And you know what? I think that note is the note to end it on. I've got to take a break. I'm starting to get hungry. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. As always, read what you enjoy, write what you love. And I'm actually going to be back on 7 o'clock today. So, let's see, it's 5, 6, 7. So I'll see you guys in 2 more hours. So log in 2 more hours from now and let's have some more fun, shall we? All right.